Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things. Today I'm going to be doing the Booktube About Me tag. So months and months ago I was tagged by Ange from Beyond the Pages in the Booktube About Me tag, so I will link Ange's channel down below, and I thought it was about time finally that I actually did that tag. So the first question is, what do you study / what is your job? So I work in non-fiction publishing. I work for a company called Octopus, which is a sort of sub-company of Hachette UK. I work on the series Miller's Guides, so I edit antiques guides. I really enjoy it, especially when I get to look at Victorian antiques. That makes me very happy. Question 2 is, what is your favourite social media channel? Probably YouTube, if we're counting it, in that YouTube is the thing I use the most and do the most with, I suppose. I enjoy Twitter, and I do use Twitter a lot, but I mostly use Twitter to interact with booktubers and to do stuff to do with YouTube. I have Instagram, but I use it very, very rarely. I think I've used it like once in the last 6 months, partly because my phone can't really handle Instagram very well. I have Facebook, but I don't really use it very much, and that's like the extent of my social media. So probably YouTube, but if we're not counting YouTube, then I suppose it would be Twitter. Question 3 is, if you had another channel, what would it be about? I suppose I would say writing, in that I feel like the only other thing apart from reading that I do that much of and would have enough to talk about would be writing. But because there are quite a lot of booktubers who write, and because writing is so connected to reading, I feel like I talk about writing enough within Booktube that that's kind of okay. So I'm not sure what on earth else I would do a channel about, because there's nothing else really apart from reading and writing that I spend that much time on. I do really enjoy baking, but I feel like I'd have to have a lot more time to dedicate a channel to baking and to make that many cakes and that many videos to do with cakes. I feel like that would be much more time consuming and probably expensive, and probably like not good for my health in comparison to making videos about books. But anyway. Question 4 is, do you play any musical instruments? So I have played musical instruments, though it is debatable whether I still play musical instruments. As a child / teenager, I learnt the piano, the trumpet, and also the euphonium. I can still play the piano and still sometimes do play the piano. I don't have a piano or a keyboard here, but if I ever go round to my parents' house, I do sometimes play the piano. I do still own a trumpet, but I haven't played my trumpet for nearly 3 years now, not since I left university. I wish I could still play the euphonium. I haven't played the euphonium for 6 years, but I love the euphonium. That was my favourite instrument that I ever played. So I started learning the trumpet when I was like 8, and then I started learning the piano when I was 10. And then when I was about 14, I got braces, train track braces, and you might not know this if you have never played a brass instrument, but if you play a brass instrument like the trumpet that has a really small mouthpiece, it's incredibly hard to play when you have braces. It's really, really hard, and I just suddenly became terrible. I went down like grades and grades, my range shrank, and I just found it really, really hard to play and therefore not nearly so enjoyable. And my trumpet teacher suggested that I pick up another brass instrument that had a bigger mouthpiece, and so I tried the euphonium, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the same as a baritone. Sometimes it's called a baritone instead, and it's basically like a tuba but smaller, or like a tenor horn but bigger. I really love playing the euphonium. It was a really fun instrument to play because it's got a really nice sound, and because not very many people play them, you actually get a lot more interesting parts in like brass bands or concert bands playing the euphonium than you do when you're on like third trumpet. So yeah, I enjoy the euphonium. Sadly, I borrowed one, and when I left school and left the music school I used to go to on a Saturday, I no longer had access to a euphonium, so I wish I had a euphonium. But basically I still play the piano a bit, and the rest of my musicalness has gone. I did used to be fairly musical and used to love playing instruments a lot. Like I said, I went to a music school thing on a Saturday. Borough I grew up in London had a really good music service at that time. I think they have a lot less funding now, sadly, but when I was a child and a teenager, they had a brilliant Saturday music school that I went to and loved and went to for 10 years, I suppose. So yeah, that was good, but I'm less musical now, sadly. Question 5 is, what hobbies do you have other than reading? Mostly creative writing, I suppose, would be the main thing I would spend my time doing, and I probably spend slightly more time writing than I do reading. Obviously Booktube, I suppose, is a hobby of sorts as well. Beyond reading, writing and Booktube, I think I don't have that many other hobbies. I probably used to, like as a teenager, like I said, I played musical instruments. I also used to make a lot of jewellery, which is something I haven't done for a long time now. But because I enjoy reading and writing and doing Booktube videos so much, and because those 3 things do take up quite a lot of time, I don't really have that many other hobbies. Question 6, favourite TV shows. I think most of my favourite things that have been on TV have been like TV adaptations of 19th century novels, which I love very, very much. But in terms of like ongoing regular TV shows, I suppose I enjoy quite a lot of like American comedy. Like I really enjoyed Friends, I enjoyed How I Met Your Mother, except for the last episode which made me cross, but that's beside the point. I really love Parks and Rec a lot. I still haven't finished it, but I'm up to the 6th series, I think. I also really enjoy Community, and I was like gutted when that went off Netflix because that was really great fun. I enjoy Doctor Who, I enjoy Elementary a lot. Elementary is great and so much better than Sherlock, and I also really enjoy the Marvel Netflix originals very, very much. I really enjoy Daredevil, and we're just watching through Jessica Jones at the moment, which I'm really enjoying. Question 7 is, what got you into reading? I don't really know, in the sense that I have been reading quite a long time, I suppose, since I was a child, and I always really enjoyed reading as a child, and I suppose my parents were quite influential in that, and also my brother, because he liked reading too, and we read a lot of the same books and then we would talk about them. In terms of what got me like properly into reading, I think that would probably be Jane Eyre, which I read when I was 13, and that kind of changed the way I read and made me really interested in reading a lot of Victorian literature, and that made me much more passionate about reading, I suppose, and kind of influenced how the rest of my reading has been since that time long ago. So question 8 is, what are your favourite and least favourite literary genres? So my favourite genre, if you can really call it a genre, is probably classics, more specifically 19th century literature, more specifically Victorian literature, I suppose would be my absolute favourite thing to read. I also really enjoy contemporary literary fiction, but normally on the more like commercial end of the literary spectrum, if that makes sense. I love a well-written book with beautiful writing, but the more experimental with writing style, the less likely I am to like it, but at the same time, the more experimental with time and structure, the more likely I am to like it, so that can vary quite a lot. I also really enjoy historical fiction, and I do quite like reading sci-fi and fantasy, though I probably wouldn't put them as like my favourite genres. In terms of my least favourite genres, I have never read any horror. I don't think I would like it because I don't like horror films or horror television, but I don't know because I haven't read it, but I also feel like I wouldn't like it, so I'm not sure I'm going to give it a chance. And I'm not a massive fan of thrillers, I would say. I quite enjoy like crime detective fiction, but when it's like a crime thriller, that's something I'm a bit less interested in, so I suppose they would be my least favourite genres. Question 9, which books define your childhood? I think that can vary and depend on when like you decide that childhood ends. In terms of my teenage years, it's probably anything by Charles Dickens, by Jane Austen, by Elizabeth Gaskell, by the Brontes. In terms of my younger childhood, sort of before I was 13, I think my favourite book series was the Edge Chronicles. If you ever read them, any of you, I loved them very, very much. I'm interested to know if other people also enjoyed them, because I feel like the Edge Chronicles were my favourite thing, more than Harry Potter. Like, the Edge Chronicles were absolutely wonderful. They were set in such a magical, fascinating world, and I thought they were great, and I really liked how they had, it was a long series split up into trilogies, and you got different generations. I thought that was really, really nice. I also really enjoyed, like, the Narnia books. I really enjoyed A Series of Unfortunate Events. I really enjoyed the Inkhearts trilogy by Cornelia Funke. I really, really loved them very, very much. They were some of my favourite books as a child. But to be honest, I think my teenage years were more defined by books than my childhood, if that makes sense. Question 10 is, tell us an interesting fact about yourself. I have a phobia of fish. Specifically, I have a great phobia of dead fish. But living fish I don't like either. That may not be interesting, but I feel like it is fairly unusual. So yes, I think that is all I have to say for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.